The creepy porcelain doll Annabelle is unleashed again with a fresh set of spine-chilling demons in Annabelle Comes Home. It's the third Annabelle movie and is actually both a sequel and a prequel, and with Annabelle having appeared in 6 out of 7 of the Conjuring universe's movies so far, things are getting pretty complicated for the demonic doll's timeline. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm explaining the full chronological timeline for Annabelle in the Conjuring movie franchise. Plus I'll be discussing how the new movie reveals a surprising connection to The Conjuring's other big bad, the demon nun Valak. Spoilers ahead for Annabelle's appearances in the Conjuring universe movies. The timeline for Annabelle begins with Annabelle Creation, which establishes the origins of the demonic doll within the Conjuring universe. The movie begins in 1946, with doll maker Samuel Mullins finishing his work on an exclusive set of 100 porcelain dolls. One day, as the family returns from church, their car breaks down and, while Samuel's fixing it, the Mullins' daughter Annabelle, also known as Bee, is tragically killed by a speeding car. You're going to want to remember Bee because she reappears many years later in Annabelle Comes Home.
Can I play with Annabelle?
I think you have the wrong house. There's no Annabelle here.
Yes, she is.
After their daughter's death, the Mullins are so devastated that they pray for a way to see Bee again. They're contacted by a malevolent demon masquerading as the spirit of their dead daughter, who asks for permission to move into one of Samuel's porcelain dolls. A manifestation of Bee returns to the Mullins household. However, when Esther realizes it's not really her daughter, the demon attacks her in an attempt to take possession of her soul. The church steps in and manages to contain the evil spirit in the doll. The doll's then sealed in Bee's closet, which is lined with pages from the Holy Bible and blessed by a priest for safety. This keeps the demon locked away until 1958, when the Mullins take Sister Charlotte and a group of orphans into their home. One of the orphans, Janice, is mysteriously lured into Bee's old bedroom, where she finds a key that opens Bee's closet. This releases the spirit of the Annabelle demon, which terrorizes Janice and the other girls over the following nights. By the way, similar events occur many years later in Annabelle Comes Home, when another girl breaks the house rules at the Warrens this time, when she finds a key and accidentally releases the demon doll from the box which is keeping her contained. Once Annabelle is unleashed in Annabelle Creation, we start to see her true demonic form as the demon attempts to take Janice's soul.
Can you help me?
What do you need?
Your soul.
Janice escapes this encounter but is disabled further, and days later when she's taken outside, Annabelle seems to summon another evil spirit of a nun this time, who pushes Janice into a barn so the demon in the form of Bee can attack the young girl. Bee vomits into Janice's mouth, now possessing her. The entity that helped Annabelle could very well be the Conjuring's famous nun Valak, who starred in her own spin-off, The Nun. Annabelle's ability to call on other evil spirits is revealed by Lorraine Warren in Annabelle Comes Home.
It's the doll, Ed. It's a beacon for other spirits.
The Annabelle demon, who's now inside Janice, begins a murderous rampage, starting by killing Samuel Mullins. And when Janice's friend realizes what's going on, she tries to destroy the doll by throwing it down the well. This fails, with the doll reappearing moments later inside the farmhouse, and it's the first chronological example in the Conjuring universe of how it seems to be almost impossible to destroy the doll once it's controlled by the demon. In later films, Annabelle is dumped numerous times in the trash, only to reappear later back inside the building. In both The Conjuring and Annabelle Comes Home, the Warrens explain that trying to destroy the Annabelle doll only makes things worse, and that the genie is better kept in the bottle. The only way to stop the Annabelle demon is to contain it again. In Annabelle Creation, this only happens when Sister Charlotte manages to shove Janice and the Annabelle doll into Bee's old closet, jamming it shut. It's only a temporary measure though, and when the police come to investigate, they discover that Janice has dug her way out through a closet wall and escaped, leaving behind only the porcelain doll which is taken away by the police. Janice ends up at another orphanage, and when the Higgins family arrive to adopt her, she reveals she now goes by the name of the demon that's secretly hiding inside her.
I want to introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Higgins.
And you must be?
Annabelle.
Annabelle.
What a lovely name.
Over the next 12 years, Annabelle Higgins, aka Janice, grows up and joins a cult called the Disciples of the Ram. The Annabelle doll then reappears in 1970 when John Form gives his wife Mia the doll to add to her collection. That same year, an adult Annabelle Higgins returns to the home of her adoptive parents and, together with her boyfriend, brutally kills them. The crazed pair then break into Mia and John's house next door, where Annabelle discovers Mia's doll collection. The possessed Annabelle Higgins tells Mia,
I like your dolls.
Which is echoed eerily later in Annabelle Comes Home by the bloodied woman who suddenly appears to Lorraine inside the Warrens' car.
I like your doll.
During the Form's home invasion, Annabelle kills herself while holding the porcelain doll, and a trickle of her blood runs into the doll's eye. This transfers the demon out of Annabelle's human body back into the doll, where it will next begin to terrorize the Form family. After continued attacks by the doll, Mia and John contact Father Perez, who takes Annabelle away to his church where he hopes the sacred place will weaken the demon. The doll is able to conjure the form of Annabelle Higgins, who attacks the priest, and the Annabelle doll ends up again in Mia's apartment to demand her soul in return for sparing her baby. To save Mia, her friend Evelyn sacrifices her own soul by falling out the window together with the Annabelle doll. Moments later, the doll disappears, reappearing 6 months later in a store where a mother buys it as a gift for her daughter, Debbie. This leads us into the prologue of The Conjuring, where Ed and Lorraine Warren investigate the Annabelle case for the very first time. Debbie and her roommates explain to the Warrens that their porcelain doll has been mysteriously moving around the apartment. To try and figure out what was going on, the young nurses took it to a medium, and the Annabelle demon then tricked them by pretending to be the ghost of a 7-year-old girl called Annabelle Higgins who died in the apartment. The demon said it wanted to be friends with them as it was lonely, so the roommates gave it permission to move into the doll, at which point the demon started to terrorize them, damaging their belongings and scrawling "Miss Me" all over the walls and ceilings. And those messages reappear later in Annabelle Comes Home. At this point, The Conjuring and Annabelle Comes Home converge, with the opening scene of Annabelle Comes Home reminding us how demonic possession works within the Conjuring universe.
It was a big mistake acknowledging this doll. And through that, the inhuman spirit tricked you. You gave it permission to infest your lives.
So the doll was never possessed?
No, it was used as a conduit. It was moved around to give the impression of possession. Demonic spirits don't possess things. They possess people.
The Annabelle Comes Home prologue then fills in a small narrative gap from The Conjuring, showing the Warrens telling the nurses they'll take the Annabelle doll away to keep it somewhere safe. But before the doll reaches the relative security of the Warrens' artifact room, Ed and Lorraine have to drive it back home, and the doll immediately creates trouble, causing their car to break down outside a cemetery. While Ed is fixing the car, Annabelle summons an array of spirits, one of which pushes Ed into the path of an out-of-control truck, in a callback to how Bea was run over in Annabelle Creation after the Higgins car also broke down. Ed and Lorraine do get the doll back to their artifact room, where they lock it away in a cabinet made of church glass and have it blessed by a priest. Like in Annabelle Creation, this contains the evil for now until the main events of Annabelle Comes Home, which take place 1 year later. Now this is where the timeline gets a little tricky, because during this intervening year, the main events of the first Conjuring movie actually take place. The Warrens' investigation of the Perrin haunting in Harrisville, Rhode Island takes place in 1971, and during that time the evil spirit Bathsheba goes to the Warrens' house and lets Annabelle loose, and they both attack the Warrens' daughter Judy. By the way, if you're wondering why Judy looks different in The Conjuring compared to Annabelle Comes Home, it's because the producers decided to recast Judy Warren with actress Mckenna Grace in the third Annabelle movie. So after the Perrin haunting in The Conjuring, the main events of Annabelle Comes Home take place. In this new Annabelle movie, babysitter Mary Ellen's friend Daniela accidentally lets the Annabelle doll out of her glass cabinet after touching pretty much everything in the Warrens' artifact room. Annabelle, who as Lorraine explained is a beacon for other spirits, then unleashes a horde of new demons and monsters on Judy, Mary Ellen and Daniela, who are home alone. In this movie, the Annabelle demon specifically targets Judy and her soul. First, Annabelle manifests as Bea, the Mullins daughter from Annabelle Creation. She then also appears as Annabelle Higgins from the first Annabelle movie, before emerging as the demon itself. When Judy attempts to return the Annabelle doll to the glass cabinet, the demon starts to suck her soul from her body. Judy manages to grab a crucifix and place it on the demon's head, which weakens it until all 3 girls are able to lock the Annabelle doll back in the glass cabinet. At this point, all of the other demonic entities that Annabelle summoned disappear. Shortly after Annabelle Comes Home on the Conjuring timeline is the Curse of La Llorona, which takes place in 1973. The Annabelle doll appears in flashback when Father Perez mentions his encounter with the demon after Anna comes to him for help on how to deal with the weeping woman. And Annabelle appears briefly at the very end of The Conjuring 2 when Ed Warren puts the Crooked Man zoetrope on the shelf near the doll in the artifact room. The Crooked Man has a spin-off movie in development, which has been delayed due to the popularity of The Nun, so it'll be interesting to see if Annabelle factors into that future story in any way. Any of these new villains from Annabelle Comes Home could return in the next Conjuring movie or even their own spin-offs, and it's been rumoured that The Conjuring 3 may include demonic werewolves, which means we could see the Black Shuck from Annabelle Comes Home return very soon. So would you like to see any of the new demons in Annabelle Comes Home get their own movie? And do you think Annabelle should return in the Conjuring universe? Let me know in the comments below. Next, tap left to find out all about the deleted ending to The Nun that you never got to see, or tap right for another video you're sure to like. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!